Falter Oscar Ireland AM. Now, did you know that over 60% of Irish adults drink coffee? Not only that, 11% of Irish coffee drinkers have more than 5 cups a day, including me. That's a lot of caffeine.
That sounds like a lot of caffeine. There's a lot of mixed messages, though, around caffeine and our health. One day, it's a magic cure, while the next, there are concerns around its safety. So what is the truth when it comes to caffeine? Well, joining us to discuss this is Heather Leeson, nutritionist from Glenville Nutrition. So how are you, Heather?
I am great, thank you.
So what does caffeine do for us in a positive?
Yes.
It's a stimulant, so it is the most popular legal psychoactive drug in the world, and it does boost alertness, concentration, sports performance, actually loads and loads of evidence on that. And depending on how we get it, but if we're having it in the form of tea or coffee, there are polyphenols and antioxidants in it, which are good for us. So there is loads of good news. Long term, it's shown to improve cognitive function, even cardiovascular health. So there are loads and loads of benefits of having caffeine. That is the good news.
Absolutely.
That's the good news.
Yes.
But of course there's a but.
Okay.
The dose makes the poison. Okay, so how much you have is very important. And the fact that like 10% of us are having more than 5 cups is a lot. Now, we're all different, so we will all metabolize it differently. But we know women metabolize it a little bit more slowly, so they get a longer lasting effect. And if you're on the oral contraceptive pill, that also extends that a little bit further.
Okay.
And like, I might be able to tolerate 2, you might be able to tolerate 5, but there is a tipping point beyond which it's not helpful for us. And there's particular people who should really be watching it.
Okay, I like that intro. It told us that 60% of us are drinking coffee. I would have thought that we were more a nation of tea drinkers.
Well, we are. Like, we're the biggest tea drinkers in Europe, the second biggest per capita tea drinkers in the world. That's unreal, isn't
Yes,
it?
I'll take that. The win for Ireland.
But tea has half of the amount of caffeine as a cup of coffee. See, it's not, you're still cranking up your caffeine there if you're having lots of tea. And I regularly in clinic will see people who are having maybe 10 cups of tea a day.
Yeah.
That's too much.
That's only 5 cups of Shiva's coffee.
Yeah, but that's a lot. That is an awful lot. And of course, if you're having it with sugar and loads of milk, that's a calorie burden. That's one. Now, that's not the main problem. The main problem actually is sleep, because it does very definitely affect sleep.
But what if you just have your coffee in the morning time?
Yeah.
And then one more at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it's got a half-life of 5 to 8 hours. What that means is that 5 to 8 hours after you've had your mug of coffee, half of that caffeine is still in your system. So if you're tired at, say, 4 o'clock, you have a cup of coffee to wake you up. That's like going to bed at 9 or 10 with half a mug of coffee.
Really?
So, and even if you think it doesn't affect you, it is affecting you under the covers. We know it affects your ability to get into slow wave, deep sleep. That's the kind our brain really needs. So it does affect us, absolutely.
Okay, that makes me
rethink
my 5th cup at 5 o'clock on the odd day.
Yeah, so just pull it forward exactly by 12 o'clock. By lunchtime, normally we'd be saying don't have caffeine after lunch.
Okay.
And it also affects your stomach. Okay, there's loads of people out there. I see so many people in clinic with digestive issues. And caffeine has a laxative effect. So without putting everyone off their Saturday morning breakfast, it does stimulate the bowels.
Right.
And if you've got reflux or heartburn, it's a big problem too. Now, you might get away with 1 or 2 with food, but if you're having a lot more, especially on an empty stomach, that might be real trigger for your gut issues.
Yeah, especially if you have gut issues anyway,
Yeah, so I would limit it. And the other thing that it does, the tipping point between being alert and being anxious. So too much, you'll know yourself, if you've ever had too much caffeine, you're a little bit hyped up. But if you're prone to anxiety, that is a problem. So it can exacerbate anxiety in people who are prone to it. So again, just watch your limit.
Okay, when you think about it, a tragedy occurs, or there's a crisis, or there's some kind of a problem. First thing is, sit down there and get you a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So
that's a very Irish thing.
It's a very Irish thing. So we're not actually helping the situation.
Well, one
sometimes.
cup of tea might, but it's when it cranks up. And remember, when we're talking about caffeine, it's not just coffee, which is what we all think of.
Or tea.
Or tea. So tea will have about half of the amount of caffeine, like I said, as a cup of coffee. Green tea has about the same as well.
As a normal cup of tea?
Yeah, as a normal cup of tea. So people think it's a herbal tea. Yes, I mean, all tea is a herbal tea, actually, but green tea, like black tea, has about half of the amount of caffeine as a cup of coffee. Now, something like a chamomile tea or a peppermint tea, they're naturally caffeine-free. They don't have any. But you'll also get it in dark chocolate, also full of polyphenols, but very dark chocolate has caffeine in it. So if you're someone who's sensitive and your evening treat is a couple of squares of dark chocolate. That might interfere with your sleep. Okay?
Right.
It's in some painkillers. It helps with the painkilling effect. So if you have a headache at night and you take a painkiller with caffeine, that might disrupt your sleep.
Okay.
And even decaf coffee will have a little bit of caffeine and other stimulants, theobromine and theophylline.
Oh, goodness.
That's fine, though. I mean, it's going to be a small amount. Maybe don't have it later. The real problem, and these all have benefits, okay? They have polyphenols. They're good for you in small amounts. The problem is, and where a lot of adolescents are getting it, is with the energy drinks.
Yes,
okay,
things
because
like-
there's no
Yeah.
redeeming features
Sky.
there at all. And we know from research, 70% of adolescents are drinking energy drinks. Okay,
Yeah.
and there's even a warning on the can. So there's more caffeine in that can of Monster than in a cup and a half of coffee, and it is not good. Adolescents need more sleep than us, and that's a group where, you know, anxiety can be an issue, so it's really problematic. Never mind all the sugar and the other stuff that's coming in.
Absolutely. Now, I actually have seen in shops people asking for ID of people trying
Yeah.
to buy energy
Yeah,
drinks, so
some of-
hopefully that is implemented.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who shouldn't be intaking caffeine?
Pregnant women should be really limiting their intake. People with, you know, the gut issues, the sleep issues. If you're a poor sleeper, just avoid it. Like, really limit it and have it earlier in the day. Kids under 12, so again, you'll see people younger than that having cups of tea or coffee, so they shouldn't really be doing that. It affects your brain. It affects
Yeah.
your brain chemistry.
Okay, so caffeine is good to us if we drink it appropriately and accordingly.
Yeah, and that will
in
change. About 3 cups a day is the normal recommended limit.
Between tea and coffee?
3 coffees, so the equivalent by lunchtime, and, you know, not if it doesn't suit you. And if you're doing more than that, pull back gradually. I had a patient last
Yeah.
week, went from 12 cups of coffee a day to nothing and thought he had COVID. He felt so bad. He felt so bad. So
Yeah.
if you want to reduce your caffeine intake, do it slowly over a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And skipping your nighttime cup of tea and replacing it with a vodka and Coke is not going to help.
No, but maybe a chamomile tea or decaf tea might.
Okay, might be a little bit better.
Heather, thank
good
you
to
so
see you.
much.
Okay. After the break, we're taking fashion inspiration from the world's best dressed woman on her 65th birthday. Believe it or not. Stay with us.